Yo.
Hey, dude. How we doing?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Technology is fun. Trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it's always something else. I cannot tell you how long I've spent messing around with cameras to get it to look kind of how I want it to.
You mean for this right now?
Yeah. It's nothing fabulous, but it's definitely something.
Yeah. Dude, if it's better than a webcam, that's all we can ask for.
Yeah. I mean, let's film a podcast on FX3.
Yes. All right. Welcome back to the Okayest Cook Podcast. I am your host, Chris Whonsetler. Back in the office here today and got a crazy special guest on camera with us. Keagan, go ahead and introduce yourself.
How you doing, man? Good to finally get to connect.
Yes.
As you said, I'm Keagan, wildlife photographer, hunting photographer, videographer, general adventurer, traveler.
World traveler, yeah, dude.
Yeah, sitting here in the national forest outside of Missoula at the moment.
Dude, I'm so jealous.
And just hanging out on the back of my Suburban here. So.
Yes. Yeah, well,
just
dude, you are
Tuesday.
you're hard to pin down. You've just been running around like crazy, like up in Alaska, here and there and everywhere in between. So never know where you're gonna pop your head up.
Well, that's the thing too, is I don't know half the time either. Somebody goes, "Hey, what are you doing next week?" And I go, "When do you need me?"
Yes,
and then I jump on an airplane and there we go. So that seems to be the way of it the most of the time.
Yeah. So for all of you listening who are not familiar with Keagan, definitely need to go follow him on the handles. I'm blanking on your handle right now. Just wildlife photographer.
Wildlife Photog Media.
Wildlife. We'll pin it in the show notes.
Yeah,
definitely need to follow this.
There's a little G that sneaks in there and
dude,
messes everybody up. So
we'll link it in the show notes here. But yeah, absolutely stunning photography. You cover everything, right? From waterfowl to big game and every fishing, all the things. If it's like adventurous, you're there. Like you've done like snowboarding and all kinds of crazy stuff too.
Yeah, I got my start in waterfowl, and then that transferred to big game. And I was a fishing guide for a bunch of years, so I try and do as much of that as possible. And then, we were doing adventure sports up in Alaska this summer. Heliing snowmobiles up on top of glaciers for a show called Roam Wild, and it's been a heck of a year, that's for sure.
Dude, I love it. Yeah, my favorite thing about your feed is you never know where you're gonna pop up. Like I said, mountains or marshes, and I absolutely love the diversity in what you do and where you go. And I would say probably on Instagram, that's where I follow you primarily. Probably you're most notable for your driving in the rain and just your devouring of the fatty meat sticks. Which have you been sponsored by them yet?
Yeah, we've worked out some deals.
Oh, you had a conversation. I was gonna say, if they're not sponsoring you, you are like the sole reason behind like thousands of dudes eating these things, and you convinced me to start buying them, and like they're awesome. I love these things. So
yeah, for me it was just a healthy alternative to gas station food that I knew was going to consistently be good for me. And then it just turned into, hey, people are tagging me in this because I started tagging them in it on socials. And they're a super cool company to work for. Real small and a little bit everywhere. So,
dude, like I said, the quality is there. Like they're phenomenal. I've tried a handful of them, and I'd probably put honey barbecue at the bottom of the list and jalapeno towards the top, and like the pepperoni is solid. And there's probably a few more in there I need to try out, but 100% like definitely go to road trip snack for me.
Yeah, the OG and the jalapeno are definitely my tops. And then their chicken ones that they just came out with, actually super solid too.
Okay.
That's one, I don't know if it's hard to find the chicken ones.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
I just order everything direct from their website.
Okay.
Which, you can order a case of them, saves you a little bit of money compared to the gas station anyway. So
yeah, you would not regret buying a case of these things.
No, absolutely not. Yes. They're super good.
Dude, well, yeah, so on that note, let's dive in here. I wanted to chat with you, because you're just traveling nonstop, but B, you talk a lot about just being healthy. And like you do a lot of healthy things. You obviously need to be super healthy for what you do. I mean, just running around the mountains, chasing all the mammals and all the vertebrates and all the things. So you got to be fit. But how do you do that on the road? Well, back up. How often, or like how much of the year would you say you are on the road?
Oh man, I'm probably back home in Wisconsin 15 days a year.
Okay, geez. Yeah, and the rest of that you're just either driving or you're on location somewhere, kind of hanging out with them, with the client and friends and whatnot.
And it's my clients are spread all over the country, so a lot of it's just bouncing around to wherever somebody needs me or whatever the show is or whatever the event is, and then whatever shoot it is, if it's in the mountains or in a duck camp down south or deer camp in Iowa. And I end up settling in a little bit in each one of those locations depending on how long I'm there for. But it's one of those where being healthy is important. Not only eating well, but being able to stay active and working out and doing all that kind of stuff.
So how does one accomplish this, traveling as much as you do? I'm stationary. I've got a gym like around the corner, and I have a hard time staying fit. Like I can't imagine trying to do it from my truck.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, I'm obviously pretty active. I'm always on the go and running around. But like just that is not enough. From working out, there's a bunch of I do a lot with First Form. Out of Missouri there, and I do pack workouts. That's part of their app, and it's all structured. And I just throw a 45-pound plate in my Mystery Ranch pack, and then I'm rucking with that and throwing that thing around and doing a lot of workouts, kind of more in the CrossFit realm. Nothing super crazy, but it's enough to keep you active. And then it's right on that level of getting good workout, but not enough to make you sore the next day. Because I obviously can't wake up, be sore, and be not at 100% to do what I need to do every day. Oh, yeah. So that was kind of a level that I had to find out. And I have a gym membership. I go to Planet Fitness. A lot of that for me, the gym membership, is honestly so that I can shower on the road. And then I kind of get guilted into working out while I'm there too. And then the food thing, man, it's just one of those where I've got a 2-burner Coleman grill, the green ones, the one that everybody has or has seen. Oh, yeah. That is in the back of my truck. I've got kind of a drawer system built and a slide out that the grill sits up on top of, and then just a good nonstick pan and one like smaller camping pot. And that's pretty much my go-to cooking every day. That nonstick pan on the road is super slick. I'm not wasting a bunch of water scrubbing it. I just take a shop towel and wipe it out when I'm done cooking. And
for sure, yeah.
The couple coolers that I have, my pack backs, and just load those up with ice and stop at whatever grocery store along the way every few days and make sure that I've got, decent fruits and vegetables. I try and make sure I've got at least a few days worth of like chicken or pork or beef, kind of whatever I'm feeling. And then I rely pretty heavy on canned food. Just traveling so much, I've got a couple different cars scattered around the country. So I can't always be like buying groceries and then all of a sudden I've got to go.
You can't really bring the bell peppers on the plane.
A pack of chicken isn't going to go through TSA super well. So
probably not.
So it's just a combination of whatever I can do to, avoid constantly eating out, avoid constantly getting junk food on the road. I eat out a little bit, but mainly that's kind of like treat wise or seeing friends. If we go out and grab some drinks, then we'll like grab dinner or that kind of stuff. But if I'm on my own, I'm cooking every day.
Yeah, dude, I think that's the hard part is like when I'm traveling, like you're almost in just like travel mode. For sure. And it's like, it's so hard to not just reach into the Pringles can or, my smoky Chex Mix is always on the passenger seat next to me. But like, the conscious decision to just choose healthier things is, that takes some power right there. But also like after a long day of driving, you just decide to like crash and make a meal. And I suppose it's something you get used to,
for sure,
for just doing it for so long. But I mean, definitely on my days off, if I'm like you, like I'm just trying to picture myself in your shoes, like, and I'm running around the mountains all day, or I'm sludging through the mud chasing ducks. Like the last thing I want to do on my day off is put a pack on and keep working out. But it's like you have to, like it's it's a requirement for you and what you do. It sounded like. And
yeah, and I mean, I'm an extreme example. Obviously, the way that I live my life is not normal by any standards of the imagination.
Right.
And so I have to be able to operate at the level that I need to, where I'm not a burden. My pack is always heavier than everybody else's in the mountains. I've got way more stuff going on.
6 cameras in there. So.
Yeah, exactly. And then, the way to film a lot of, you take elk hunting, for example. Like, if I just followed along the whole time behind somebody, it would be a really boring elk hunt.
Yeah.
So I've got to be able to run around people and get in front, and I'm constantly like filming things, letting them walk through the frame, and then I've got to catch up real quick. So for me, I have to be able to stay in as good a shape as humanly possible.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then it's just the one thing why I started really preaching like eating good on the road and just eating good in general was just to be able to like put it in people's heads that if I can do that living in a suburban, traveling around the country, that like we can all do that. And it's one of those that we can all do it because we want to continue to do the things that we love. Everybody knows somebody that's not able to go climb into their tree stand like they want to, that's not able to walk 2 miles through a cut wheat field in North Dakota to get to the goose spread because they had to hide the truck. Like, obviously being out of shape is a thing that we've kind of grown accustomed to in this country.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one of those things where like, it doesn't have to be the way that it is. And if we want to be able to like, I'd love to have kids and grandkids someday and be able to carry them on my back to a trout stream in northern Wisconsin like my dad did to me when I was a little kid. So like
100%.
Knowing that in 30, 40 years, I've still got to be on my game, trying to keep that in mind, keeping active, and
absolutely, yeah,
choosing alternatives that work for me. And I kind of got forced into eating the way that I do. I got Giardia in Alaska my first year when I was guiding up there, and it never got treated. My stomach kind of deteriorated from there. So
really,
yeah, I had to stay away from dairy. I like to joke that's my punishment for leaving the greatest state in the union, the dairy state.
Oh, no.
And then that kind of stemmed in some other stuff, and like I had to really look and search to figure out my diet of what worked for me. I avoid pretty much all oils, like real fatty foods.
Okay.
Hardly eat a lot of stuff that
like to this day you still avoid that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I have to, because that's there's certain things that aren't so bad on my stomach, but again, like if I'm in the field and I have a stomach issue, like take deer season for example, when I'm in a tree stand, like there's not an option.
Yeah.
I have to be able to maintain all day long for as long as we're going to sit and know that I'm good to go, that I'm not going to have problems. And a lot of it just became, okay, this is the way you have to do it to be able to do your job.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's one thing when you're the hunter and you can decide, oh, like I'm going to get down and just use the bathroom. But yeah, dude, if you're working, you can't really just be like, all right, we're going to take a quick break. Jeez, man, yeah.
Yeah.
I had no idea that like
labels.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I had no idea that like Giardia and like some of those other, like I know lime does like a ton of like crazy stuff, but like all these other like, it's a microorganism, right? The Giardia.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I had no idea that would like wreck your stomach the way it does. But
yeah, and it was just kind of the best guess that we made a couple years after the fact of like once I finally started looking into getting things figured out and never really got solid answers. I just found solutions to the problem.
Yeah.
And basically just like these are the things that I need to do to make sure that I'm good to go, to make sure that I feel good. And then indirectly, it kind of forced me into maintaining a super good diet of eating clean and not like having an option to do anything else.
Kind of forces you down that good path.
Yeah. Yeah, which, sucked at the time, and there's still obviously times that it's not the most fun thing in the world.
Yeah.
But it ends up working out better in the end, and just, a little inconvenience of making some food on the back of my truck in a rest stop parking lot going through North Dakota isn't really that bad in comparison to like, okay, yeah, let's eat at McDonald's for 30 days in a row.
Yeah, there's no way you could do what you do on the McDonald's diet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it earlier. I think just America in general, like, really needs to just get off the couch, get out from behind our phones, behind our computers. Like, there's better ways to do all the things that we're currently doing. And we've just become too sedentary. Like, we just need to get up and get active. And like, I'm, prime number one. Like, it's, I'm not I'm not doing what I'm preaching here. So I need to, kick it up a notch myself too. And it's inspiring kind of hearing kind of like I said, just the road tripper life. And like, if you're making it work and you're doing it, like, yeah, why can't I with all this stuff here?
Yeah. And it's one of those, like, you start looking at what's in food,
Yeah, dude.
And I got forced into it by having to avoid like soybean oil. It's a big one that I constantly have to watch out for. And then you start to realize what's in and surrounding all of the other foods. When you're everything you pick up at a grocery store, you got to look at and read. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, well, high fructose corn syrup, probably not something that I need to be eating. So you just start avoiding other things, and then you kind of just start thinking about it as a like, all right, how are all of these, our great grandparents, how the heck did they eat whatever they wanted for so many years? They drank as much as they wanted, and they smoked a pack of cigarettes every day, and they lived to be 100 years old.
Oh, yeah. And they were sharp as a tack the whole time.
Exactly. And then you start to compare what their foods were. You kind of go down a late night rabbit hole, and then you go, okay, well, if that's their diet and this is what they ate for most of their life, then like, that's probably the way that we should be maintaining and we should continue to eat in today's day and age. And it's not that much more difficult. It's just a little inconvenient. Sometimes it's less expensive. A lot of times it's a little bit more expensive.
Yeah,
but,
which is sad, yeah.
If you look at it as fuel to do the things that we want, that we're already spending way too much money to go do anyway. Yeah. I can't tell you how much money I have in this truck and just in hunting gear alone, not to mention all my camera gear.
Yeah.
So if I paid that kind of money to do all that, I sure as heck better be able to pay an extra $20 at the grocery store to eat well.
Yeah, dude, it's sad that that we have to prioritize, convenience for it's that balance. It's convenience or your health. So which one are you choosing in the grocery store? And we could just do this quick, fast, easy meal and put on a couple pounds, or eat right and do a little bit more kitchen work. But geesh. I kind of earlier you mentioned something about just like diet on top of what you're doing. And that kind of like reminded me of a chat we had with Caitlin Green a while ago on, I think it was the Eat Real Food episode. And like, her big thing is just getting rid of all the processed crap and just eat food that's real, like a real vegetable or like a real piece of meat, like nothing that's been processed into something else. But something she mentioned, you can start working out, you can start doing all this other stuff, and it's great, it's phenomenal, it's way better than doing nothing, but it's not gonna get you where you need to go. You need a good diet on top of the working out,
for sure,
to maintain and to build a body into what you think, or to what your body needs to be, what it could be, what it used to be back in the old days.
Yeah, and it's one of those like, I really honed in my diet when I started tracking macros and looking at that, and then go, okay, how many carbs are in this? How much protein? How much am I actually getting from all of these things that I'm putting in my body? And then this is the amount of calories that I have allotted for today. And now go, okay, well, I quit drinking for a few months. And it was solely because the amount of carbs that I was drinking and the amount of calories offset it enough where all of a sudden now I'm hungry. And now I'm eating more than what I was supposed to for that day to try and hit the goals that I needed to be able to make sure that this time of year I'm in operating shape and that I can just go and not have to worry if a hunter is all of a sudden a super marathon runner. Yeah. Or, when I'm chasing around Lee Lakoski and he's got super long legs and he's in crazy good shape, like, I've got to be able to keep up with anybody and everybody that calls me to go to work.
Yeah, dude.
So you start looking at all of these little things that are in food and like what you're really getting out of it. And it's just like, okay, well, yeah. And then I saw it on the app and like, it was all broke down of like, okay. And it's little stuff like grapes have a surprising amount of calories.
Really?
And you're like, okay, let's pivot here. And just like odd foods that you wouldn't expect. They're like peanuts, a handful of peanuts, you've always heard that like they were super good for you. Well, they're crazy high in fats, which has a time and a place, but not as just a like road trip snack.
Yeah.
You eat
if you're just
3 or 4 handfuls of peanuts. Yeah. And it's just, you start to think about stuff differently and you start to look at it differently. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, all this makes sense. Now let's go this direction and let's kind of get everything where we need to be to just make sure that we can maintain this lifestyle.
Yeah, definitely. Well, do you have any like hot tips for? Well, let's focus on the driving portion here. Like hot tips for like snacking in the car. I mean, you just mentioned like peanuts, probably not a good go-to, but like, do you like keep your snacks in like the back of your truck so you can't access them like while you're on these big like long haul road trips, or like what's in your seat next to you that you're gonna munch on?
Usually it's like random fruits and vegetables, like
real food.
Yeah, like, a bag of carrots and a little thing of like those mini tomatoes and some like snap peas and that kind of stuff. Just like easy grab from the grocery store, throw in. Like, yes, it's prepackaged, but like the alternative of that is to go, otherwise you grab a bag of chips.
Yeah.
And then usually, I'll grab some like guacamole or something like that. It's all right in the same little aisle at Walmart, and just throw a couple of those things in the basket while I'm grabbing whatever. And then, if I'm hungry on a 7-8 hour road trip or I'm bored out of my mind, at least I've got like something like that where I can sit and eat something that's still good.
Yeah.
Or, stop, cut up a watermelon, do that kind of stuff where it's, again, not the most convenient.
Absolutely not.
But
that's the price you pay for being in shape. Yeah.
And then like once you continue to eat that way and you kind of cut out some of that like crazy sugary foods and stuff, a lot of that stuff begins to not taste as good.
Okay.
And a lot of your like strawberries and blueberries and watermelon and like that, like it tastes better.
Yeah.
So you gravitate towards that kind of stuff. And then after a few weeks of like thinking like that, then you just walk past all those aisles in the store, or you walk past the aisle in the gas station of all of the random sweets and all that
so
jazz.
Much terrible stuff.
Yeah.
The hunter's diet, yes.
And I say that like, yeah, I'm not perfect.
Oh,
like,
no.
am I going to grab a bag of gummy worms? For sure.
Yeah.
But it's, a balance of
it's
like.
It's a treat. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Once in a while, we could have some gummy bears and gummy worms. Well, yeah, dude, I'm hearing a lot of like repetitive things, like as I'm talking to all these people who know what they're doing, counting macros. Like it's shocking to me how many people do that, and like 100%, like I should start doing that. You mentioned just like once you kick kind of that sugar addiction, just the fact that like all these candies and cookies like just don't appeal to you anymore, like because you're not addicted to them anymore. A lot of people have been talking about that, so it's kind of exciting. Like, because I'm sitting here at my house and like I'll get done editing. I don't know at what time of night, and you just sit on the couch and put on Netflix. And you're like, like I'm bored. I need to eat something just to occupy my time. And it's the exact same for me in the truck. Like for me, it's just like I snack because I'm bored most of the time.
Yeah.
And Andy, one of the other hosts, is like, dude, you just got to like kick that. Chug some water, like just get that thought of hunger out of your head, or just like I said, eat real food. just always default to something that's an actual food item, like not just from a bag. But
yeah, I mean it's one of those too where like the boredom eating is absolutely a real thing. Like if I'm 100%. Editing or sitting in front of my computer, I am snacking on stuff constantly, but trying to figure out like, okay, maybe I just whip up some rice and chicken and just like overeat on that, and at least like that's better than the eating a bag of Ruffles kind of alternative,
or like an entire sleeve of Oreos. Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, again, like I don't want to call it lucky, but I got kind of forced into having to choose better alternatives to a lot of stuff.
Okay.
The things that I grew up like snacking on are mainly things that I can't eat. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to eat a bag of Doritos because it's going to make me sick. So now I'm looking at alternatives, and maybe that's like blue corn tortilla chips that are like, made with some other type of oil or air fried or something where it's like, yeah, is that a perfect alternative? But no, but it's moving in the right direction.
100%.
And I don't want to sit here and like sound preachy of like, I'm a perfect example of health and whatever.
Nah, dude.
But it's just those like little things of thinking about it and moving forward. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, maybe half of my diet is better. And then, I don't know, for me, it's taken 6 years to like have it kind of dialed in of like what I want to eat,
sure,
what tastes good. If I'm cooking, like these are the seasonings that make something that somebody else is just going to think is boring taste really good.
Dude,
and then I can put
huge.
in front of somebody and go, here, just try this. And then normally they're like, yeah, okay, this sounded gross, but now that I'm eating it, like, perfect.
Nice, yeah. Do you find yourself cooking for people a lot on the road?
I try to, just because it's inconvenient for most people to cook for me. I usually end up with a laundry list of like, here's the things that I can't eat, and then it like really messes up people's plans. Like everybody cooks with butter, for example. Well, I can't eat butter, so all of a sudden people like, especially from the Midwest, people are like, oh, what do I cook that in then? And then it's just like, all right, how about I just make dinner for a couple days and like we don't worry about it. And then you don't have to cook, you don't have to stress, and then I'll be fine. You'll have a good meal, and then we'll all be good. And that's usually kind of how I try and do that. And like, I don't want people to feel bad that like I'm getting left out of stuff, because that constantly happens all the time.
Oh yeah.
Especially at like hunting lodges when there's a chef and I show up and maybe the owner hasn't translated to them that I have food issues. So they get kind of blindsided. And now like I've gotten to the point where I just show up with my own food.
Okay.
And then it's just like, no, you guys are good. Don't worry about me. Like I've got it covered.
Yeah.
And that helps an awful lot. But yeah, like if it's friends and family and that, I just end up cooking, and I like to cook, so that helps.
Awesome, yeah. Sick. Yeah. Appreciate all the intel. I had another thought, but it escaped me. Loving all the hot tips. Like it's super cool. Yeah, hearing what you're doing, and definitely kind of what got you to where you are today. Like really appreciate you sharing that, and super fun for everyone to hear. I guess one thing we could shift over to here is Andy's going to kill me because I'm spacing on the order on which we do things here in the podcast. Notable meals. Yeah, usually we do this at the front end, but here we're just kind of slapping it in the middle of the podcast somewhere here. Notable meals. We typically like to talk about like fun, cool things we've eaten over the week. Is there something like fancy or unique or different that you've done lately that might be out of the norm for you, or just a meal that's kind of shining in the back of your mind?
I mean, we ate some salmon from the coast of Washington the other day. That's unique for most people.
Yeah,
I got kind of spoiled living in Alaska for several years, where salmon was a pretty regular.
Dude.
But it's always nice to visit that one again. Otherwise, it's kind of been pretty standard. I don't stray a whole lot unless we're traveling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If I've got an opportunity to eat oysters somewhere or sushi somewhere, I'm going to snap that opportunity up.
Dude, that's funny you mentioned fish because I just had some brook trout from Michigan that my dad cooked up.
There you go. Nice.
He's been doing this trip. It's twice a year now. It used to be just once a year with all his old college buddies. And he goes up to the UP somewhere and typically brings home a bunch of brook trout. And dude, over Labor Day, he just threw them on the grill and just said, have at them. Dude, it was magical. Yeah, just having fish that was, less than a week old. And that's the game changer with fish.
Especially
in
those brook trout. Man, oof.
So my wife is definitely not a huge fan of fish. And for our 5-year anniversary, we went to Alaska. And she tried, we did like the Alaskan cruise ordeal. Like, it's super fun. Absolutely love it. But I need to see more of it, like you've seen. But yeah, she tried some salmon up there and that was fresh. And I don't know how old it was, but like she actually ate it and enjoyed it. So like being where the food comes from is a huge plus, for that dish and just maximizing what your experience with that dish.
Well, and that's one of those too, like Alaska, the atmosphere, and then you're eating that right there. Like even if it was, caught a couple weeks ago, went through the cannery, frozen, brought to the restaurant, like it's still in the place, It hasn't gone crazy far. Yeah. And that's just always one of those that like when I was guiding fly fishing up there, we'd do shore lunches all the time.
Oh my gosh.
And it would literally be catch, fillet, throw on a fire, and like Alaska's really rainy where it's coastal, and there's nothing better than like rainy, dreary, cold day. All right, let's fry up a sockeye or a coho or a king and just eat, relax, let the clients drink a bottle of wine, and just like hang out for an hour.
Nice.
That was just always a huge hit.
Yes, yeah, I love it. Do you guys do any like catch clean cooks like with some of the client work you do? Like, are you like eating elk heart and stuff after a harvest or?
A little bit, if we're back at the lodge and we've got an animal butchered up, and usually like antelope comes to mind, that one usually gets eaten pretty quick, a couple back straps or depending on what species it is, a lot of whitetail, again, backstrap or loins, stuff like that where, get one in. All right, let's get it cut up, and then, in a couple of days, let's eat this. And, a lot of my clients are pretty much mainly wild game.
Sure.
That's just their diet. And especially, like, you take somebody like Lee and Tiff. Well, they're hunting all year long. You're harvesting animals all year long. Most of last year's season, we were eating bison burgers and venison constantly and elk all the time, and then mix in some turkey and some walleye when Hoyer would bring some down. And it's just like, you start to just, that's all you eat because and you're harvesting it all the time. So it's like, that's what you're shooting all these for. You're not just shooting them to hang on the wall. You're shooting them because 100%. They're delicious.
Yeah.
And that's like when I'm down in Arkansas, we shoot a ton of snow geese, and snow geese aren't typically people's like favorite thing to eat. But I can't stand to like be a part of something and then just waste it. A lot of times, like, I'll take that and then I'm eating snow geese for dinner every day or for lunch. And it's just as simple as like throw it in a pressure cooker with some seasonings, an apple or an onion or some peppers. Let that thing, do its magic while I'm dumping footage or taking a couple extra pictures or filming something at the lodge. Yeah. And then by the time I come back, it's done, pop it out, make some rice, throw it on there, and like you're good to go from that. Yes. So it's.
Do you have an Instant Pot in the back of your truck? You cook stuff like crock pot while you're driving?
I don't have one in my truck. I leave one in my camper.
There you go.
So when I'm a little bit more stationary and plugged in, that Instant Pot sucks a lot of juice off my couple of power banks that I have in here, and I need those for charging batteries and
I guess
now for my Starlink to be able to run. So
nice. Awesome. Dude, yeah, you mentioned apple and goose. Like that's 100% one of my favorite things to do with Canada's for me. Like I haven't had the opportunity to go snow goose hunting, but 100% on my list. I would love to. But a friend of a friend gave me some snow goose at one point, and honestly, it was the size of a mallard, but I couldn't taste a difference from snow to Canada. So like just a bunch of snow goose legs in a crock pot with some apple juice. Dude, that's so
Heck
good.
yeah.
Just cook it down until it falls apart and throw it on anything.
And when I was guiding in Kansas, like we had some specs, and I just, I had cooked a couple pieces of bacon, threw in some onions. I just had a couple apples. I threw those in there.
Yeah.
And then seared that speck in there like real hot and fast with a little splash of Pendleton. And that just became like my go-to wild game of like, okay, you don't like this? Let me do this. And then now tell me you don't like it.
Yeah.
And it was one of those where like nobody says no to that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. What almost kind of has like some similar vibes to some Meat Eater, one of their cookbooks. And gosh, I'm kicking myself here. I always mix them up. I think it's a chutney. Right, is that kind of like a vinegar based sauce with fruit in it? Meat Eater made like an awesome chutney that he puts on top of a seared goose breast, and oh my gosh, just that fruit and that vinegar and that meat just is the perfect combination. 100% love it. But yeah, almost the exact same thing. Like people that are scared to eat geese because like it's in the back of their mind, like, oh, it's a greasy mess. It's just this thing in all the retention ponds that drives us nuts. Like they're so freaking good. I absolutely love goose.
Absolutely, and it's one of those where like get creative with something. If you don't like just a goose breast on a grill, which like if you cook it where it's not overdone, it's delicious.
Oh yeah,
I used to do that all the time when I was home, but mix stuff up. I like to take mallards and cut them up real thin and like into small cubes and then sear those and then add them into like pasta sauce.
Nice.
And then eat that with like noodles or do an Asian thing and cook that over rice. And like there's a million ways to cook things.
Yeah.
That all of these cultures have figured out how to make things with way worse than ducks and geese and deer and squirrel and whatever else, You don't want to know what the Asian culture's adding into some of the things. And a lot of it's, traditional necessity.
Yeah.
You had to eat, so make it taste good.
Yeah.
And like add some of that stuff in, or making like pho and ramen and stuff like that. You can get so creative with all this crazy wild game and just, it's delicious. I've never like not had a good meal unless I mess something up cooking it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I've burned a couple things here and there, so we won't talk about it.
That happens.
But dude, I'd love to try guinea pig at some point. So all these weird meats and stuff. So it's all just how you cook it and just it's your mindset, like getting outside of that taboo. Just don't let it affect you, and just realize that like people around the world are like literally eating everything, because they like it, because they have to eat it. It's just whatever reason, like people are just eating it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why there's a reason why you couldn't, with all of the access we have to seasonings and sauces and recipe books, and you mentioned Meat Eater, like those guys created a like go-to guide for somebody to make 5-star meals out of literally anything that they could have access to.
100%, yeah. Yeah, it's an awesome book because it's almost like the flavor Bible where like they'll have this recipe and then say like, hey, this is developed for goose or elk or moose or whatever, but then at the bottom they're like, okay, if you want to do it with whitetail, here's how you do it differently, or if you want to do the same thing with this other cut, maybe tweak this, but it's also good with blank 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 blank. So super fun. Tons of we got the internet at our fingertips. Like there's no excuse for anything here, Toe. Well, dude, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but real quick, that thought I had that escaped came to me, and it's because you're holding a can there. Is that some First Form? You mentioned that earlier.
This one's not. I've had my fill of First Form today.
Well, let's real quick. Can we talk about like just energy out in the field? Like what do you backpack, or like what are you rucking in with you to like sustain you through like a really long adventure, or like just doing like a serious workout?
Yeah, a lot of it's just different pre-workouts from different, this last trip I was mule deer hunting in Arizona, and I had picked up some little like individual single serving packets of like Jocko's got a pre-workout that's super good. And that's just like dumping a water bottle quick, or,
Sure.
you know, if I'm with Lee and Tiff, they're sponsored by Mountain Ops, so we've always got Ignite on hand. And then if I've got access to my truck, then, you know, I've got the big tubs of the First Form pre-workout and that kind of stuff. And, you know, usually have a case of Red Bull somewhere. If I have access to get that First Form energy shipped out, you know, I've had a couple today because I was sitting in front of a computer for a good bit of the day and, you know, just trying to grind through edits and stuff. So it's trying to keep that as much as possible.
Yeah,
keep the caffeine intake high.
Yeah. Well, it's that, but it's like just trying to find something that's good for like, you know, just physical energy exertion, but then also like mental sharpness. Like as you know, if you're the hunter, like obviously you got to be alert and awake the whole time, just ready to go at a moment's notice. But kind of like factor that, it's almost like times 10 probably for somebody in your shoes, where it's like, yeah, you've got to be alert, looking for these animals, but you're also like razor focused on the hunter and like everything around you, and like it's just like there's so much going into your head, and like you got to be sharp and you got to be just ready to go. So I'm kind of thinking like what's the best fuel for somebody in that position to like, again, you're feeding your mind, you're feeding your body, you're staying awake, and you're not cramping up and getting tired. And it's, I guess, this is a long roundabout way to go, is like, so like how can a hunter eat better in the tree stand, or, you know, in the duck blind? Like, just stop taking the Little Debbies, stop doing like the stop doing the gas station burritos. We'll scrap all that crap and just like start eating better. Like, is it the same answer as always, just real food? Is that, I mean,
it certainly helps, you know, paying attention to like being able to have sugar stuff, you know, whether that's fruits and stuff, or like paying attention to like carbs, and like still having that like well-rounded diet is super helpful. But then like, what kind of snacks are you bringing in the tree stand? You know, whether that's jerky, or maybe you've got a little bit of a treat, and that's where like gummy worms come into play. And I got to figure out how to make my own and perfect that, just so I can eliminate some of the things. Like, that's goal number one for this whitetail season, is to figure that one out.
Dude, talk
once
to
I have
Corey.
my camper back.
Yeah, so Corey, another one of our hosts, has claimed, I have not tried them, but he's claimed to have like an awesome gummy recipe that he's done. So, yeah, we'll have him connect with you and share that. So see if it works for you.
Yeah, and it's like you said, though, you know, you take whitetail hunting, for example. Whitetail hunting in a tree stand inherently is boring for most of the season, unless you're the guy filming it. And every time that the light changes or the weather changes or a different deer walks in, you've got to film that like it's about to happen. You know, I'll spend 60 days in a tree stand, and we might not shoot a deer in that 60 days, but every single time you're going into that, like, this is the moment. You know, you don't end up seeing all of those times on TV, but if you didn't do that and then it happens, then all of a sudden you're kind of like, well, where's the story?
Yeah.
So, like you're saying, being able to stay like on your game all the time, and that's every stalk that we go on elk hunting still gets filmed like it's the one.
Seriously.
And trying to like balance the like caffeine of, okay, this is 100 days straight of hunting season. Like, I'm tired, I haven't slept, but let's stay on our game. Let's keep figuring out what we can eat well, and like, let's still make this fun. Yeah. And like, not a drag, or falling asleep in a duck blind, lean back in a layout all nice and cuddled up in the cold. Like,
dude, so many duck blind naps, mostly in the layout blind, but yeah, it's freezing cold out there. You just ate some chili, like, oh man, the honks will wake me up when they come in.
Oh yeah. Oh, and those are some of the best naps too.
Dude, they're so good. Yes. It's coming. Well, Keagan, we won't take you too much longer here. Really appreciate you jumping on with us. Dude, we've talked about a lot of food, and Andy might kill me again, but I feel like we almost don't need to give a recipe at the end of this episode. Like, unless you've got something dialed up, ready to go, like, dude, we've talked about so much food right now, and kind of love where you've taken this episode. But did you have something specific you want to share, or just keep it what we got here?
I'm happy to give you my go-to day to day. Usually I take that Coleman grill out, throw that on my little slide out shelf, and then I just pour in a little bit of water, cut up onions, peppers, let those start to simmer in that, and then add in, whether that's pasta or rice, add that in. It's simmering, crank the heat up, keep adding water, because obviously it's evaporating as you're trying not to boil stuff, but simmer it. And then whatever the protein of the day is, whether that be chicken or pork or beef, and it's really super simple of just waiting until that protein's done. By that time, your carb is done, your vegetables are already plenty good. Slam a bunch of seasoning on it to your choice, and that's my day to day. It takes 20 minutes to make a full, pan full meal.
Nice.
And then I'm ready for bed, or ready for the next adventure, or ready to get back in the truck and keep on driving.
Jeez. Dude, just trucking. Love it. We had to really appreciate your time. Appreciate what you do.
Absolutely.
Remind everyone where we can find you. Primarily Instagram. Where else are you at?
Yeah, I'm on all social platforms. Instagram's the best one, at Wildlife Photog Media. And then for all my camera people out there, Cameras Don't Flare Birds is a new apparel brand that we're starting up. Kind of just bringing the waterfowl photography, videography, hunting in general community. We're trying to bring everybody together with that, and make some fun T-shirts and stickers and that kind of stuff. So
heck yeah,
I'm getting easy to find on the internet, that's for sure.
Yeah, just look for the meat sticks in the rain, and Keagan's not going to be too far away. Yeah, sir, appreciate you, hardcore. Definitely, if you've got a cool hunt you want captured, photo or video, reach out to Keagan. He will crush it. Just take a look at his portfolio. Some really dynamite work. Absolutely love what you do. You're an inspiration. I don't do as much outdoor media as I would like, but I'm trying to get out there, trying to do more of it. And just seeing your photos and your videos are just I want to go do that so bad. So you're awesome at what you do. Absolutely love following you, and hope you have a great season this year, and you stay energized and stay healthy.
Yeah, thanks a ton, man. It's kicking off full swing here in the next couple days.
Yes, well, I'm glad I caught you before you're just nonstop.
You and me both, buddy.
Yes. Yeah, well, again, really appreciate you being here, and we'll catch up soon here. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, thanks a ton, man.